So it's been about a week now since I had the most frightening vision of my life. Now, I've had these types of visions throughout my life as far back as I can remember. I'm not psychic, I'm not a prophet, and I don't have any control over when these visions come to me. They just kind of come whenever they come. But when they come, I know what they are. And sometimes the meaning can be very clear, like I know right away what this means. Other times it can be more ambiguous, and it may be like putting the pieces of a puzzle together, even over many years and many events, to where it finally dawns on me like, oh my God, that's what that vision was that I had several years ago. That was the message, that was what it was about. But what I saw about a week ago was an asteroid hitting the Earth. It frightened me, it shocked me, and it took me down a rabbit hole that I'll never come out of. So, what I'm going to do in this video today is I'm going to talk about that vision, specifically what I saw, and then I'm going to play what Tom Horn said that he saw. So you can compare his vision to mine, and you're going to see that it's almost identical. It's about a week ago now. I'm lying on my bed about 9:30 at night, starting to fall asleep. All of a sudden, I have this vision. So the vision starts out where, from my frame of reference, is as if I'm in a West Coast United States forest. I'm standing on top of a ridge, looking down and out over this huge, sprawling valley with pine trees, like West Coast pine trees, and forested landscape everywhere. And straight ahead, slightly to the right, way out on the horizon, I could see what appeared to be a nuclear blast, a large one. I couldn't hear, I couldn't smell, and I couldn't feel anything. It was as if I was watching a movie with the sound off. The blast is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it's like I'm seeing fire coming from the ground, coming up over the hills, swallowing the hills and the trees on the horizon. And the fire from the ground is coming up and sort of merging with the main fire column to make like a super fire column that filled my peripheral vision from east to west. So I'm looking out to the horizon, and is my whole line of sight from east to west. That's how big the fire column was. And I remember asking myself in the vision, I don't know if I actually said it out loud or if I just said it in my mind, but I said something like, so this is a nuclear blast? And it was as if something made me look up and I could see where there was a smoke column. You know how if an asteroid comes into the earth, it leaves a smoke trail behind it? Well, that's what I saw. So I knew that this was like an asteroid or a meteorite or something like that. It was a space object. Next thing you know, it's as if I'm teleported up into the high atmosphere. And it's like I'm standing on the atmosphere. Remember, this is a vision, so the laws of physics don't apply. And I'm so close to outer space that I could actually see where the atmosphere ends and space begins. And from that vantage point, I could see where this rock had entered the earth. And based on my recollection, it looked as if it had split off into two separate pieces. So then the next thing I know, I'm standing on what appears to be the top, the tippy top of a very large mountain. And I'm looking down over this valley. And I don't know if it's the same one that I saw at the beginning of the vision or not. But now I'm seeing like an ocean of water, not just a huge tsunami, not just a huge wave, like the whole ocean on the land. And my initial thought was that it was probably at least 400, 500 feet. I could still see it in my mind right now, the same that I saw it in the vision that night. I would say it was at least 6, 7, 800 feet. But it wasn't just the height It was the sheer volume of the water. Like I said, it was like the whole ocean had moved onto the land, and it was raging, and it was angry, and it was just swallowing up everything. So that was the vision that I had. It was fairly quick, but it shocked the hell out of me. And I woke up, I was sweating, I was breathing heavy, I was scared. I knew that what I had just saw was not an ordinary dream or an ordinary vision. I knew that it meant something. And so it bothered me, and I couldn't get back to sleep for a couple hours. So finally that night, I get back to sleep and I sleep through the night, no problems. I wake up the next day and brush my teeth, whatever I do, and I get online. And so I visit this website that I always visit. It's a news and politics sort of a website, maybe with a conservative slant. They don't talk about Bible prophecy. They don't talk about asteroids hitting the earth. And this is a website that I've been visiting pretty much daily for at least 5 or 6, if not 7 or 8 years. So right at the top of the homepage, there's a video. And on the thumbnail, there's an asteroid hitting the earth. And the title of the video says something about wormwood. So naturally, I just had this vision of an asteroid hitting the Earth a few hours ago. I click on this thing, and now I'm starting to learn about this asteroid Apophis. But I don't just trust what I see online, even on sites that I visit routinely. So I go and I start to verify this information for myself. And I'm finding out that back in 2004, there was this asteroid that astronomers found. They named it Apophis, which just maybe coincidentally, maybe not, happens to be the name of an ancient Egyptian god of death, darkness, chaos, and destruction. That's usually in the artwork is associated with stars, or you could say asteroids falling upon the earth. That when NASA originally found this asteroid, they projected its track and they said this thing's going to impact the earth on Friday the 13th, April 2029. And then later on, they changed that projection and said it's going to miss by several thousand miles, which is nothing in terms of space distance. And so I came across Tom Horn. Tom Horn is somebody who's been talking about this for a lot longer than I have. And he's actually written a book about it. And his vision is almost identical to mine. Now, before I play Tom Horn's version of what he saw so that you can compare his vision with mine, I want you to go verify these facts. Don't take his word, don't take my word, verify it. Whether it hits the earth or whether it misses by a few thousand miles, like NASA's updated projection says it will, it's going to destroy life as we know it on the earth. So you have about 4.5 years to get ready. So my advice to you is to get ready. And part of that means preparing yourself mentally, preparing yourself physically. Without further ado, let's listen to what Tom Horn has to say.
Approximately 1 year ago, this experience that I've had all through my adult life happened again. And I was actually on the top of a mountain somewhere, and I was surrounded by thousands and thousands of people. And everybody was in a panic. Everybody was screaming and running and looking back over their shoulders, including me. And that part of the vision for me was the most frightening and the most real, because so far as my mind was concerned at the time, it was actually happening. And I remember turning and looking back over my shoulder, and I could see this giant burning mountain that was coming through the atmosphere, breaking apart as it raced towards the surface of the earth. And as we were all running, all of a sudden, this stone fell into the Pacific Ocean. It knocked all of us off of our feet. The whole planet felt to me like it was shaking, vibrating so roughly that we could not stand up. And I heard this horrible cracking sound as if literally the mantle of the earth was breaking apart. And again, I looked back over my right shoulder and I saw this giant tsunami, a massive wall of water that was coming up over the top of this mountain. And I knew that we were all getting ready to perish. And just then, as if two large hands came down underneath my arms and lifted me up into the air, so that now I was looking down on the planet. And it was horrible, it was terrifying, as this water was rushing over the top of all of these desperate people who were screaming and crying and praying. And I watched something that only later did I understand was actually the science of, I'm not a scientist, so I only could write down what I saw and then later verify this is exactly what scientists say would happen. As the waters of the Pacific Ocean, where this stone, this massive burning stone fell, were boiling, and the aerosol that was coming up off of this water moved up into the upper atmosphere, and a whole series of hurricane movement started moving across the hemispheres of the earth. And then a second very large part of this stone that had broke off of it, evidently as it entered into the atmosphere, impacted the earth and ignited a series of volcanoes. And all of this material was being blown up into the upper atmosphere and getting caught in the jet stream and was moving around the earth, and very soon, within a period of days, darkening out much of the sun and the moon and the stars. And then I woke up. I was so terrified, I literally almost fell out of bed and grabbed a sheet of paper, which I've learned to keep next to my bed, with a pen, and I started writing down all of the minute details, blow by blow, of what I had seen and what I had experienced. But before I could do that, it was as if a voice in the room spoke and uttered a single word, and that was the word Apophis. Now, I knew that there was an ancient Egyptian god of chaos by the name Apophis, which was the enemy of light, the enemy of Ra. I knew that. I didn't know a lot more about it than that. And I also knew that NASA had discovered an asteroid at the Kitt Peak National Observatory in 2004. And at the time, they named it Apophis after this Egyptian god of destruction. And at that time, they actually speculated that there was enough of a serious chance that Apophis was going to impact the Earth in 2029